I will not ask if you feel fresh here, but here in the shadow we are perfect, no? We can extend this panel until 5 p.m. maybe. Okay, my name is Iris Córdoba, the Managing Director of the Global Sport Innovation Center powered by Microsoft, part of the sport tech ecosystem like the rest of the people in this table. I'm very happy to join this panel with so many familiar faces. And we share a lot of panel together. Ron, I don't remember how many, but a lot. And let me introduce the panelists today. Ron Majorta is the co-founder and managing director of Sport Tech, a global leader in the market and in intelligence and data on the sport industry. Federico Magno, sorry my Italian pronunciation, is the CEO of YLab. Is one of the most respected in Europe sport innovation hubs with a strong experience in startup acceleration and investment. And Tomasz Kowalski, Head of Innovation and the PSPN, the Polish National Soccer Federation, that is leading the innovation strategies in Europe and in their federation. And you know, from the GSIC, we connect global sport industry with technology, the startup, governments, innovation, federation, and league. And here in this panel, we connect in different approach, but at the same time, we have a lot of synergy. No? We have Ron that represent but in Spanish, I can speak like inteligencia. This is why.
Es mejor, sí.
Intelligence and data, but also deal flow for investor. No, we have Federico with this profile of the startup acceleration and the innovation adoption from the PSPN. No, and how we can create and give value to create this, to build this ecosystem. This is why in the next 28 minutes, the idea is create a conversation and understand from your side. The important is the data, and if you can share, Ron, and you can start to give some or summarize the big data about the sport tech ecosystem, the investor, the different approach in different regions, how we can engage with the startup to get advice where they should be, no? Because it's a lot of innovation hub right now in all the world, and how we can advise for this region. The important is be in touch and collaborate between each other.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Iris, for the introduction. I think we don't have to count how many panels we've done. We can count how many countries we've done panels in. I think that's already like 5 or 6. That's quite a few. No, glad to be here also with familiar faces. Quickly, Sports Tech X is a market intelligence platform for sports technology and innovation. As Iris said, our job is to know which are the latest startups, who are the investors behind them, how much money has been flowing through this ecosystem, what are the latest trends in different parts of the world. We've been tracking this data since our inception in 2018, based out of Berlin. And to Iris's point, there's been a lot of change over that time, Iris, since we first started writing reports on this space. In fact, just tomorrow, in fact, we'll be publishing our latest Sports Tech VC report, which is summarizing the investment activity in sports technology. And there's been a huge shift. So in this report, which covers a 5-year cycle, so from 2021 to 2025, we've seen, I think it's just under $70 billion of deal flow, 68.3 to be exact. About 49 of that is in new investment activity, so equity-based funding, and about 27, 28 in M&A activity. So kind of 2-to-1 ratio in new equity being pumped into the market and how much consolidation there is. The vast majority of that over the last 5 years of the new equity that gets pumped into the market has been towards the fans. So we speak about sports tech as one of 3 sectors that are serving the industry. So that's any solution for athletes. So if you have a body, you are an athlete, so not just pro level. Any sort of recreational youth level athlete. So that's one sector. Solutions for fans, anything which helps a fan engage with their sport better. And solutions for executives, anything that delivers sports to helps deliver sports. So stadium, venue, broadcasting, all of that. So those 3 sectors are where we break up this 60 billion that I talked about. About 53% of that amount has gone into solutions for fans. A little about 35% in solutions for athletes, and about 10% is the B2B side solutions for executives. That's over the 5-year period. But the trend is all moving towards fans. In 2025 alone, that number, the total deal value is at about 14 billion something, so it's been a pretty big year. In sports tech, 75% of new equity has all gone into solutions for fans. So there is a clear trend in the sports industry, at least the investors are speaking, about finding new and interesting ways to deliver good experiences for fans, to help monetize, to help get them to transact more, buy more merch, buy more tickets, invest more in experiences, all of that. And these are the end consumers who are basically propping up the sports industry at the end of it. So we can talk about various trends and geographies, etc., which we can get into, and I want to bring the other panelists in, but there's a clear shift in momentum about investors focusing on the fan.
Very interesting, and I want to talk with Thomas, because in the end, you agree in your innovation hub is the fan engagement solution your priority, and how you can play with the solution in performance, no? Because in the end, you are giving support for your federations and club. How is working this, no? How you funding, and how is your scope in this sense?
So I promised to start with a controversial thesis. And I believe that right now, when it comes to sport organizations...
Sorry, if you want to introduce for the rest of the people what you do in innovation, because I'm...
Of course. My name is Tomasz Kowalczyk. I'm in charge of the Innovation Hub in the Polish Football Association. First of all, good to be here, and I'm not alone. I'm here with Tomasz Flakowski, who is responsible for digital implementations and digital innovations, so that we are really happy to be ambassadors of the Polish sports tech ecosystem, not limited to football. So we are trying to bring more knowledge about our region to places like Dubai in order to place Poland and the CE region in the value chain for the modern sport business market. And coming back to your question, my controversial thesis is that for sport organizations right now, it's not only about winning competitions. So that sports, of course, it is important. Competing against others is important, but it's not the most important part. Right now, it's about efficiency. So that you need to manage your resources and your assets efficiently, both in terms of athletes' performance, so making your players or athletes as good as they can be, making your coaching team to work as efficiently as possible, but also the same exactly with your fan base, with your infrastructure, with your goodwill, so everything around your organization, your relations to sponsors and business partners, and so on. And that's why right now we need innovation. And in the previous panels, we heard that there is a strong shift towards sports tech, and I fully agree with Ron. When it comes to sports tech, it's everything increasing the efficiency around sport, from whatever perspective we may look. And this is something that we are trying to do in the Polish FA. We are mostly focused on fan engagement and providing sports-related content and football-related content to fans, because we believe that these solutions should be improved in Poland, and it's not limited to football. We see that the willingness to adopt technology innovation in the sports department is a bit lower. They are, let's say, not so hungry for innovations. We are not trying to push innovation into this department, so we are waiting for their needs. But when it comes to the business side, community side of the ecosystem, we believe there is huge hunger and huge need for innovations. And that's why we are both trying to foster local domestic startups, but also to invite international startups. And I believe I will elaborate more on this in the next question about...
Sure. Federico, building in the basis that Ron and Thomas mentioned in the end, we are here, our organization try to solve problem statement, no? And we try to connect a startup that the many that are here today that are able to solve problem statement with these sport entities that are looking for this solution. While Lab started investing in a startup, now you're leading different accelerator program. How you work with a startup, how you help them, and how you are connect with the industry, investors, sport entities, governments.
Well, first of all, let me say hello to everyone. I hope you are well, and good afternoon. And I want to thank you, the organizer, for inviting me to this beautiful event. I feel at home. The reason why I feel at home, I'm not from Dubai, I'm from Italy, but I feel at home because we are the home of sport. And I've been a professional football player for 11 years. I've been leader of the digital transformation of Football League for another 8 years in Italy. And I've been lucky enough to be the CEO of a sports tech incubator for the last 7. So if you add all these years, it's around 27. I've been working on sports in a way or the other. What we're doing at WILA, we've invested in 14 ventures, but also in an acceleration program. So it's kind of a multiplied investment. It's indirect in that respect. We've supported, I think, 160 startups with our programs, and we launched 27 of these. And the idea is accelerating startups, but with the vision of bringing innovation into the world of sport, which is not an easy task. Yeah. What we do with startups, it's easy to say, maybe more difficult to do it in practice. So we scout and select like players, founders and startups, and we accelerate that. We give them support. At YLab and We Sport Up, which is the acceleration program that we manage for CDP Venture Capital, which is a national innovation fund. So in this case, we operate as an operator. We give them money, so we fund them financially. And we offer a lot of services, which is, I would say, for us, the most interesting part. So it's not just the money, but it's picking the right founder and bring them to a level of risk, which is pretty high in the beginning. And then we hopefully bring them to a lower level of risk when they when they meet with investors or when they meet with the sports organization in this case, so that they can present themselves better and maybe provide a better solution to their clients. Sometimes they have right ideas and they have everything in place. Most of the time they don't, but they have potential. And as I've heard in the previous panel, one of the most important things is the human potential. So when you pick the right founder, maybe it's not the right solution at that time, but it could become later if you work on a good, talented founder. And I think what we do is fundamental for the system. So there are many other innovation hubs, corporate venture clienting program, whatever it is. But I think we offer an absolutely good services for investors that may not be interested in the moment that we pick the startup, but maybe afterwards they could. And we also offer further investments to accompany the scaling up of this company. So I feel credible when I tell this story, because we've done it. We've done with Y Scout in the beginning, which is a pretty good example of what we've done with an Italian startup that scaled internationally. Of course, it's a startup that sells to clubs, and as Deepan said, it's not like a big business, but it was a very good business, so it worked. I don't know if I answered your question, but and a lot of passion. I think the element that differentiates us from the rest, it's the passion, and this passion comes from sports. So if you've practiced, if you've lived sports, you know that you can't take the passion out of the equation. So we live and we operate and we support founders with passion. We're not perfect, but we try to help.
I think it's passion plus purpose, no? We know where we want to go. I think it's easy. We are in an amazing region, that is growing and have more attention for all around the world. And in this sense, Ron, we worked few years ago in APAC region. How you or give some advice for the local peoples, the different kind of speed? Maybe you can see Europe, here, EMEA or APAC or Asia or America, and what kind of advice we can give for the startup, no, or for the government? The question is for three of us, no, is It's different between the region. It's an opportunity to work with the government to promote local sport tech ecosystem and have synergy with other regions. What say the data, and in your experience, how we can connect these dots?
I think, excuse me. I think the biggest statement that you can make is that the future of sport is in this part of the world, right? I think the future of global economy in a lot of ways in this part of the world, right? I mean, the Europe is what it is, and it's trying to find ways to survive. The US will always be an important market, but in terms of India, in terms of the Middle East, this is where global economies are really booming. The populations are there, the demand is there. And it's the same in the sports industry. I think there is no accident that such an event is planned in Dubai at the timing that it is. Saudi is woken up in a big way with access to capital, with major leagues, with major events. Before that, we've had a World Cup in this part of the world as well. So there is no doubt that even the previous panel, you heard from investors who are moving here to get access not just to capital to pour out in other markets, but also to find companies to invest in here. That's happening across industries and definitely in sports. I think the data supports it. From a numbers point of view, yeah, the US is by far the biggest market and will continue to be, not just because of the major leagues that they have, but the strong collegiate sports market. The NCAA is a huge, mega, multi-billion-dollar business, bigger than most leagues in the world. Right? So the US is the market, is the gold standard. But if you were to invest in Europe or Asia today, you'd probably be investing in Asia. And more specifically in this part of the world, whether it's India, the Middle East, I think these are the markets to look at. And that's where, again, from a numbers perspective, that's what trending is well. And in fact, more than the others, Iris, I can ask you that question. I mean, as you're probably more qualified to speak about the sports innovation landscape globally than all of us, no disrespect. But I mean, GSIC runs hubs in Singapore, you've got 2 in Spain, you operate in South America, North America, etc. So I'll ask that question back to you. I'm sure you believe that statement as well, like a lot of the future is here.
We can change the role, no? No, I totally agree with you, but in the end, we need to connect this ecosystem. No, it's different speed and different support. If you think in Asia, and you mentioned India, or we think in Japan, in South Korea, even in Singapore, the government invests more than in Europe. But it's true, they need to test longer than in Europe or in US, no? And this is sometimes where is the gap. They have a lot of funding, but they don't have the maturity in some of the sport. But if we think in India, of course, in cricket, it's a reference for other sport where we can learn how cricket in India are engaged with fan engagement solution that we don't know in other sports like soccer. No, I think the opportunity and why it's important this kind of panel, or why it's important create and build and connect the global ecosystem is to learn, because if we put focus in problem statement, the problem statement are the same for any sport. The same problem statement that have cricket is the same that in tennis, in football, or in basketball. No, this is why the opportunity for me is create synergy and work together regarding the area where you are. No?
Yeah, and just to add to that, absolutely. And this is why events like this, and these, first of all, these innovation hubs, which are amazing local champions in the markets that they operate, are so important because they bring the ecosystem together. That in-person connection that you have at conferences, that'll never go away. You can have as many Zoom calls and Meet calls and fill up your agenda, but that connection that you make in person will always be stronger. And that's why events like this are super important. And the last point I'll make is that, I mean, we're really early in this curve of how sports is being adopted and how big the sports industry is likely to get. Over the last few years, you've seen capital coming not just from VCs and PEs, of which there are many more. Just this year in this report, I think we'll count about 36 new funds have been announced to invest in sports properties, from the PE side, which are billion-dollar funds, to smaller VC funds. There's a lot more capital coming from there. From corporate venture, for example, Red Bull announced a new fund, right? And that's 200 million euros that they're looking to invest in the industry. Sovereign wealth states, they're constantly new countries. Of course, we've come to the Gulf now, where everybody's got a major fund that is investing in sports. The athletes themselves are investing in sports so much. Fans themselves are owning sports properties, etc. So there is more and more money coming into the sports industry from corporates, I mentioned, from fans, from athletes, sovereign wealth funds, etc. So these innovation hubs play a big role in bringing that ecosystem together, and which is why, again, props to all of you for the amazing work that you guys do.
And Thomas, you can share with us a little more detail about how it's working your program, how you research this program at global level, how you connect, and which kind of challenge you have open right now, no, to solve.
So first, I would like to comment on what you discussed with Ron a moment ago. So from my point of view, again, I will be a bit controversial. So that I believe that Dubai will become a sports tech hub, especially in the model as sport as a new entertainment, where you need to be digital, when you need to be really interconnected with new media formats. And this is probably the future of the market here. That's my view. And coming back to our role, we actually have 3 layers of our goals. First of all, it's about addressing the needs of the association, so that there is a strategic shift in the way the decisions are taken in Polish football by our Secretary General, by our board, and usually. These decisions and these actions require new approaches and new technologies. Technology is quite cheap always. You can always get some technology, but it's also always about the way how you think, how you implement it, and what value you would like to bring to the organization. So this is the first layer, and it's both in the sports department, but also in grassroots, amateur football, women's football, which is one of the priorities right now. And of course, still the national team in Poland is the premium brand with Robert Lewandowski and the rest of the players, so that PZPN is trying to deliver as much value around it as possible. So this is the first layer. And our innovation hub is like onion. We have layers. The second layer is about generally enhancing and strengthening the football ecosystem in Poland. We believe that Polish market is pretty much undervalued, so that when you look at the dynamics of the Polish economy, the second fastest growing economy in the world for the last 30 years. Valuation of Polish clubs, transfer fees, and so on are far below European averages. So that we believe that Polish clubs, owners, C-level executives, and so on, they need and they require some assistance when it comes to lessons learned and best practices on how to operate, how to manage clubs in order to bring this value. And the third layer is about promoting Polish sports ecosystem. As for now, PZPN Innovation Hub is the only sports tech program in Poland. We have no specialized investor in sports tech. We do not have sports tech-oriented business angels, and Polish athletes do not invest directly into startups. So that we have a lot to do, especially take into account, again, dynamics of the economy. Whoever visited Warsaw this year and 15 years ago would understand the change, so that it's about the value of investments and so on. So that these are our 3 priorities. I would say we work both with startups as well as large tech companies, so that
local and international too, both, no?
Whatever works, to be honest. So that, of course, we like Polish nexus in startups. This is something that we would like to promote, but I believe that when you want to establish a hub, not only within the organization, but also geographically in Poland, your vector needs to work both ways, so that you should be ready to export your technologies, but also to be open for technologies coming from the world. Because this is the only way to bring competitiveness to the market and increase the quality. So we are trying both to invite external founders, startups, but also trying to bring Polish startups to places like this, and there are some Polish startups here together with us.
Yeah, I think we have a little more time to do one round more of the question, but I think so. I remember when we opened the doors of the GSIC 10 years ago, we talked about the technology is not something that will help us in the future, it's something that is happening today, no? And we talk about the digital transformation today. all the sport industry are involved in some digital transformation process more than after the pandemic. But what are today the trends? No, we need to talk about the AI, how the AI is transforming the sport industry, and with different approach, how this will pivot the decision for the investor, for the accelerator, or investment from government too, like a strategic plan for 2030, 2032, and of course in sport like football, no? How is part of our business AI?
I mean, AI is an incredibly powerful piece of technology that will accelerate whatever it touches. But it is so accessible now that is kind of like a default. I think somebody else mentioned it. If you're not building with AI, you're not building the right thing. In fact, just last week, we saw the announcement from Google, who announced with their Gemini Pro 3 that you can upload a video and get your paddle and pickleball game analyzed for free, right? Or maybe it's only with the subscription, I'm not sure. But basically, that's Google's step into AI-based analytics for sports. So if and there are quite a few video analytics-based companies here today, aren't you a bit scared? If Google is here already, what else? What are you building, and how are you going to compete in this market? So what it's changed is that there are lots of builders in the sport, but when anybody can build, so can the biggest, so can the smallest. How do you really create differentiation in what you're providing to the market? Are you just going to be a race to the bottom? Are you only going to differentiate on price, which is a very difficult model? Investors are not going to be so happy with that opportunity as with something else. Or you're going to think out of the box and really create something that maybe doesn't drive consensus, that everybody thinks you're crazy on what you're doing, but those are the kind of businesses that are really going to shape the future of sports, let's say. So as AI is helping speed everything up, it's also, I think the biggest impact is changing how you think about what is actually possible, not just something that you think you've seen somewhere and you might do a better version of. No, actually building something that maybe hasn't been there before.
Excellent. Federico?
Well, of course, AI is ubiquitous, so it's everywhere, and it's not sports. It's everyone's life, and we see it every day. I think one of the things that founders should focus on, if we might say this, is one thing is, as in the previous panel was mentioned, data monetization, which is something that I remember from the time at the league. I was at the league from 2010 to 2018. It was like a hot topic, and it's still a hot topic now. So I think it hasn't been solved yet. So we have lots of fans, and this statement it's not really certain, because that some fans are not really, let's say, faithful as we used to see. And so we need to grow this fan base. We need to attract the fans, but also we need to know them better. And so we need to use and have technologies allowing sports organizations to understand fans and to interact with them. Sometimes, and I think technology is not the end. It's a means to do that, right? So I think if I were a founder, maybe that direction is a good direction. Ron was mentioning the trends. I think it's 50-something% of investment in the last 5 years. I've studied your report, 56, something like that.
You're doing well, Federico. Yeah.
Which has been directed towards fan experience solutions. And this is...
And sorry, 75% in 2025. So okay. It's trending upwards.
It's even more. But I mean, in the last 5 years, so it means that's a trend. It's a trend that we don't see in Italy, and it's more on performance side, but this is another interesting thing. And so I think one of the things is data monetization, how you can, as a founder and entrepreneur, help sports organization make money and make things better in terms of relationship with fans, okay? Recognize them as supporters and treat them as clients and customers. It's not a bad word, it's a fine word. You need to try to treat your customers very well. The other thing is wellness. Wellness, because it belongs to everyone. We need to stay healthy. I was a professional player. Now I go running this morning. I ran 13 kilometers with my friends Matteo. This is part of life. If you practice sports, any sports, if you develop a solution or technology that help people stay well, be healthy, live longer, better life, that's going to be a good way to maybe be successful. I would say AI for personalization of coaching. So I have 2 kids. One is 10 and the other is 8, and they are there looking for drills. And so now it's possible to teach people how to practice sports without the need of an actual coach. I'm not saying that it's not needed, but you can start from there. And the other last bit, I think sports is fantastic as a test bed for innovation that can be deployed in other industry. So we don't have to think that, okay, the industry is sports, maybe it's not too big, but then I have examples of startups that are doing exceptionally well in manufacturing, energy, tourism, that were starting from sports. And nobody was thinking about that, but the talent of the founders made it possible for them to scale in other industries. So think about sports as a platform for enhancing and accelerating technologies in other industries. I think this is great.
Thomas.
I know we ran out of time, but I need 2 minutes because I'm afraid we are asking a wrong question. So that data is like electricity right now. AI is like infrastructure to process it, but it's not going to build value on its own. And first, we need to identify key challenges for sports, which is access to new generations, Generation Alpha, which considers sport in a totally different way comparing to previous generations. And we can see a lower number of long-lasting fans of sports coming in the next years. Meaning that there is going to be a shift in the business model around sport. And when we estimate the whole budgets of sports in football, for example, which is not financially sustainable in the long term, and we estimate how many billions of euro are pumped into European football, so that the business model should be modified, and it should be far more pro-fun and far fun-oriented. And last but not least is our new formats and new challengers, contenders searching for their niches in order to compete against sports like basketball or football. And AI may be a tool to answer these challenges, but it's not the answer per se. So that still there is space for startups to address it.
In the end, we agree sport is not only the professional athlete, sport is health, sport is tourism, sport is security, sport is the amateur sport, no? And this where is the business that you mentioned, fitness, wellness, and how the government can work with the citizens to reduce the cost of the health in the country, and how the AI, agree with you, is a tool, no? It's not in sí the solution for this. But we need to close this panel with the idea the only way to continues helping grow the sport tech ecosystem is work together and create synergy between the region, between the ecosystem, and continues in this side. So sorry, we are 3 minutes late.
Thank you.